Okay, this is the second video between me and John. This battle is a little bit different. This was the fourth and final battle. This was the siege of a small settlement. This is a small fortified settlement of the barbarian. Two gates. Here, let's go on the outside and take a look. It's got two gates, watchtowers that can fire arrow. You got a second gate over here. You have some internal capture points and victory points that are around here, and the center victory points up here on the top. And you can defense. And again, we chose this to play around in a little bit of different styles. This to show what it would look like if we were doing a siege style battle. The first one was land battle. Second one was a river crossing. The last one you saw in the winter was a land battle as well, but with some environmental factors. This is an example of a siege. And you can see here, John, because of the type of battle, the game already allows John to bring deployable equipment based on his infantry. So he's got two siege towers. He's got some ladders, what looks like some galleries he can advance in undercover, a battering ram, and he also bought some field artillery. So these are, I don't know, Ongers, or however you pronounce that, the heavy mules, Romans. And he has, from a troop standpoint, he didn't bring any cavalry. He brought his general. He's got his archers, looks like two archers, and then three slingers, two onagers, and then auxiliary infantry for his spears rather than triari. And again, his Soki extraordinaire, his triari. Oh, there's his triari. And so a little bit at first cohort, nothing quite as heavy this time. I don't see the Eagle cohort out there, but I do see some Praetorian guards. So fairly heavy on my side, pretty much same setup as last time. Two javelin units, spearmen, three chosen swordsmen, three oath sworn, and I've kind of layered them in defense. And here are my two cavalry guarding the far gate. Now in setup, you get, as a defender, you can bring equipment or deployables. So these are little barriers I put in to create a funnel, and these little things are these flaming balls. Not very historically accurate, but they're kind of like what in the movie Troy, you light them, you push them downhill, and hopefully they take out a lot of enemies. So we'll go ahead and get started. And again, it's just showing the nature of the different kinds of battles that can be held. This one, it's 37 minutes. So I'm going to speed through a lot of it because sieges are a lot more like chess. There's a lot of time of positioning, repositioning, and advancing. So he's going to come up at first with his artillery. And you can see I've already sallied with my cavalry. So my thought here with the cavalry is I'm going to see if I can get an easy shot on his artillery, his general, or any other units. So we can actually see this coming in. You can kind of fly in over the heads of the cavalry if you want, and kind of ride with them as they ride into the so I've got both units here side by side. I'm going to try and split his spear. You see his spear there. I'm going to try and go on either side of it. And you can see my orders as they come in. I move this group in the woods to try and basically wrap around it. Cavalry is very good in the open field, can do a lot of damage. I get easily bypass his fixed units. This guy will turn into the artillery, but you can see his missile units are already starting to hit this group. So he's gotten free shots, which is anytime you get missiles that you can get free shots on cavalry, that's beneficial. But I do hit our unit. Doesn't do as much damage as I was thinking, and it has to leave before it can do much. So even though this unit was disrupted, stopped firing, I don't think I take it out. But in the back here, I'm hoping he's distracted from all this. I'm going straight for his general. His general is a weaker cavalry than mine. I'm hoping I can take him out of the fight very early on. He notices now and begins reacting, trying to move his general under cover. And you can see here I'm able to catch his general. Unfortunately, not do enough damage early on to take him out. And I got to make sure, if I don't want to lose this unit, I got to move it as he starts to move his infantry to capture. So a little pre-battle shenanigans going on my part to see if I can get some. Probably could have waited a little bit, but hindsight is 20/20. He does rally. He uses his group ability. That's rally the troops, I believe. And so I pull back. Now I've gotten 3 hits on him, and I've lost 2. But you know, it's his cavalry there is, you know, trying to get some damage on it, so it will fall later. Big thing in Rome Total War II, even if you don't see units dropping, you're doing what's called hit point damage, and that stays. So later in the battle, heavy troops, if you've hit them up front with missile, artillery, cavalry, and they aren't dropping, later in the battle, you'll see them drop faster because it's often good to, and again, I was able to get my cavalry back in for a second attack, kind of cheeky moves here. And this is, I've lost half of this cavalry, probably not worth it in the long run, but it was fun. And it was a good effort. So now we're going to spend a little time as I pull these forces back. They've done their damage. They've taken their beating. I'm actually going to lose this horse, I think. Of the 2 horse I sent in, one is still mostly intact, but I've completely lost one. Did take out, this unit is not destroyed. It's over here. It's hiding. He ran it away, and it will come back, and he will start firing again. So mixed engagement. I did some hit point damage, but he took out cavalry. Now he is moving all his forces up in a general attack. These siege units are not easy to maneuver. You've got his ladder backwards. That it just takes some practice. Another thing in Rome Total War, you will never be able to stop the siege towers unless there's one. You can't really stop them from hitting the wall. So just to be clear, don't expect that you're going to keep the enemy outside off your wall completely. People do that and then they get disappointed. It's just not the way the game works. The game is designed to have fights on the wall, fights in the interior, and your best option is defense in depth. And you can see here I've set up some units waiting on the top of a hill, some more flaming balls, and then a third layer of defense with some more flaming balls up there. So now we'll speed it up a little bit. If you are the defender, these towers, as long as you control, whoever controls them, will be shooting pretty powerful arrows. It's a sort of form artillery. So there's a tower over here, 2 around the gate, and these are taking damage out of his. But again, John brought a lot of troops, so he's got some ability to absorb it. We're starting to see now some engagement coming in here. All these arrows coming in. He's got all these missile troops just firing over the walls. Barbarian walls are pretty low. They're not. If these were city walls, they'd be much higher, have better defense. And you can see here, I'm just getting overwhelmed on this side, which is fine. I didn't put all my forces here. This was designed to slow them down, inflict a lot of damage, and make them pay to get in here. For some reason, my guys decide the best route to escape is out the front in terms of it won't let the bad guys in, but it does look kind of funny when your guys run out and get promptly annihilated. So he's breached the wall over here. His siege tower is coming over here, and so this fight's going on. Again, getting support from both my javelins and my guard towers, doing damage on his, but his units are just tougher. He's got more of them. I'm not expecting to hold this. Up here, I tried to light these balls on fire, thinking that the gate was about to drop. He's got his battering ram outside, but I got attacked before I could do it. So you can see these are time sensitive. You have to use them in the right time, because here comes his battering ram, and if I could launch these right now, I'd go right through his battering, right into his light everything on fire. It'd be great, but he was able to engage my guys before they could go. You remember this barrier? He's knocked down the barrier. He surrounded me on 2 sides. This is over. These guys were there to do a job, and they just couldn't do it. So timing is everything. So we'll speed it up a little bit because this is getting to the mid stage now. He's basically taken, I've got some units here I know I'm going to lose. My cavalry is coming around to do an attack on his troops out in the field here. And you can see here they've run into the group that was about to get up on the siege tower, doing some damage, and I'll retreat it as they begin to waver. But again, just inflicting damage where I can, trying to slow them down and take some of those hit points off for later. So we'll let him, there's quite a bit of time here that's going to elapse as he recovers and positions. So again, a little bit as this thing, in the battle type setup, you can pick land battles, ambush battles, coastal battles where boats are involved, river crossings, unfortified towns and ports, and a port just has water boats involved, and fortified. In each town or fortified settlement, you can pick small, medium, large, or very large. So this is just a small barbarian, and you have lots of maps to pick from. So the layout's going to change a lot, and it gives you a lot of variety. So on the campaign map, you could have small, medium, large, very large settlements. You could have different levels of fortification, and the game will all reflect that without us having to figure out the rules for it. So that's a bonus. You can see here it's kind of a waiting game. He can clearly see what my plan is, and he's split his forces. Now, the game's pretty good that there's never obviously one choke point. He's got a second line here that he can march up to. I left this mostly undefended because to do that, he's got to go through multiple arrow towers, and he can capture arrow towers. So he's going to go and capture these, which will then turn and start firing on my guys if we get close. You can see over here, he's captured the arrow tower on the far side. But in doing that, he's taking damage, and that's kind of free damage that I get as a defender. for him to do that. So he's now got his flanking force, couple arrows, a lot of infantry moving up. I still have my heaviest infantry here is untouched. These are all the Oathsworns. These are my very heavy infantry, very, very tanky. And they've been resting. They haven't been fighting, anything like that. So I think you're going to see him begin to push up here. Yeah, so now he's pushing up to attack this area. I think, or he's going off to the side. Maybe he's, yeah, I think he's bringing his archers. He's going to throw his meat shields, right? To send the troops that have a few arrows left to, and you can see here, he's been shooting at me, and you can see some of the guys who didn't make it, but I was able to put them in a shield wall. They're pretty protected from arrows for the most part. So now you see he's going to start pushing up with his arrows. And I make a decision not to use the flaming balls yet because I don't want to waste them on a bunch of airstrips. What I want him to do is go through these dense formations. And I don't know how far these will go. I haven't used these much. They don't come up and play much in campaign or even in multiplayer battles. So you can see here there's kind of a standoff. And now he's going to charge up the hill. And now you see my guys are coming in, fighting him, and I'll charge with the chosen swordmen, which will really eat up these archers pretty quickly. I didn't want to, you know, my intent was not to waste the fireballs on archers. So here's the charge order. You can see them dropping dramatically, and you can see them shaking, being shaken, wavering, and then shattered. So a shattered unit will not return. A routed or wavering unit might recover. So, and it's possible to, so unless a troop is shattered, you can still recover it. It may show up on the battlefield somewhere out here. You can see he's hidden this unit of auxiliary infantry. It's like a Mauskatool. It will come in handy later. And now you can see he's moving his guys up. So now's the time I'm going to go light these balls on fire. And congratulations, I finally launched the balls. These ones go way off to the right. Every single one just skirts by his unit and devastates these houses right here. So that was a complete, I was like, what? You know, happens, right? You can't always control what's going to go on. So now these guys are, their grand attack didn't work too well, and they're going to just charge in and form a line here. Now, you'll see in my guys here, they are basically going to, I'm moving them in here, executing shield wall, basically forming a line to stop them, mixed of spears and swords. And you can mix 2 or 3 units. You don't want to get like 6 units. Right now, where he's got this blob, you still only can fight. You can see the only people fighting are along this line. So having extra people, they will occasionally start to go off to the side. And these guys are in shield wall in the wrong way. That's useful. Now that I notice that. But the chosen swordsmen are really the meal specialists. I think this is where I realized that I wanted to change the alignment. So I withdraw my swordsmen, charge with my spearmen, and I'm going to use the spearmen to hold the line and save the swordsman because I see he's now pushing with his flanking unit. So I'm going to basically sacrifice the spearmen a line. They should last a while. They go into counter cavalry. I can see his general has moved up here, the cavalry. So my guys, I'm hoping to get his general, or excuse me, his generals back here. But I wanted to put him on counter cavalry in case they got in range because I can just chew through his cavalry. So on this side, you can see I'm already trying to reposition some units. He's coming into the back. I probably could have done better to keep him. He's going to capture this tower with this archer because they move very fast. His light units are moving a lot faster than mine. And you can see here, I'm letting these guys, they're fresh again after fighting, so I've pulled them out. They're going to fill the gap in the line here so I can have 2 units here, and I'm sending 2 units there, and I realized too late that these guys aren't going to get in time, so I bring my cavalry over, my noble horse. He's marching up his Eagle cohort, his Soki, extraordinary 2 or 3 of those, heavy, tanky things. But I've got my 2 Oathsworn here, fresh, unfought, no damage. And you can see when these units, when you see that it's only, doesn't seem like much, they've only lost 4, but that means the unit has taken hit point damage. So these guys are going to drop a lot quicker than my guys who have taken no hit point damage. So there is sort of a gradual wearing down of your opponent aspect to it. I charge in there, kind of trying to create a bottleneck here so I can take care of his archers. I think I can recapture this, but didn't work out as well as I thought. Meanwhile, he's destroyed my spear, and now it's a timing, right? I've got to manage the fight over on my backside, but I don't want to miss. This is, you know, my big flaming balls. I gotta so try number 3 and see if this works. So we'll keep an eye on them. I basically bottled up my Oathsworn, put them in shield wall, and I'm just trying to. And you can see here, let the so again, I don't want to launch him. He's doing a good job of bringing his things, his archers up. The problem is, I go to move to light it, and I light 2. 2 go off. They go down. He's like, this job. That took a whole side, and the other one kind of came along. But you can see they missed a big chunk of it, and now I'm getting inundated. And there's still 3 balls that I can't light on fire for whatever reason. I'm probably back over here micromanaging. So you're going back and forth. So now I've got actually 4 fireballs that were never lit, and I'm using my blocking forces here. On this side, he's managed to get all his infantry up in the gap. This is kind of a blob fight here where we're just throwing as many units as we can. Like during the fight, you don't even notice during the fight. I had these guys here. These are the slackers. These are the guys like, oh yeah, we're totally fighting from behind this wall. Get them, guys. Good job. I do manage to kill all his archers up here, but probably because of the proximity of his troops, it's not just letting me reclaim this tower. I was hoping to reclaim this so it could fire in, but that's not happening. So now it's going to be a grudge match. This is an absolute. You can see see these guys are starting to get. Yeah, they're getting convinced. Though that's what I mean by individual troops. You saw those guys were walking with their heads down, and somebody had to come back up and grab them. That's what happens with troops. Individual troops will start to decide that they don't want to be in the battle, and you'll see someone come out and grab them back in. That's eventually at the level. So all the morale factors are going on. Let's see, back over here. I'm still holding pretty well with the Chosen and Oathsworn. You know, basically keeping 1 unit in shield wall, keeping another unit occupied, trying to do as much as I can to keep this battle going as long as I can so I can finish this flank and bring those units back. It's basically a war of attrition at this point. Now, my cavalry, I decide this is where I begin figuring out that I'm just not going to be able to reclaim the tower with his units so close. So we'll speed this up a little bit because at this point it's a lot of attrition. And you can see here how I'm starting to win. You can see they're exhausted, confident, casualty sustain, in melee units losing. Over here, in melee units losing, but now I decide to start using my cavalry, and I'll start attacking him. I'm using rally the troops, and I'll start doing what's called cycle charges. You charge in, you get the rear attack, because they're at the front, they can't really stop you from pulling out. You get a little distance, and then you charge again. And this, you just keep doing this over and over. It's called hammer and anvil. And it's a very successful way of just, if you're able to get units pinned, you can use your cavalry to repeatedly charge, and each charge adds a morale penalty. And all of a sudden, when his units break, you can start to see the odds really start rapidly shifting. Even though my units, I mean, I'm using every ability I can to hold them on, he just lost an entire unit of 22 Eagle cohorts. And all of a sudden now I can keep charging into the weaker units. So this group over here is barely holding on. He's got some archers through. They've managed to sneak through and start claiming this. I'm still managing to hold up. I've now committed my Oathsworn, but he's got them surrounded. And all I'm trying to do is quickly break as many units as I can over here to decide this. And there's a chain effect. The first unit that break increases the chance in the next unit. And you can see all of a sudden, all his units start breaking. His general's dead. He died over here in the melee over here. And so all of these units I was able to chain route and break. So now, instead of having to kill them all, I can free up these units to quickly come back and help save the day over here. So this unit's going to restore the tower. These two come back over here and try and make a difference. So, and even if he takes this victory point, by the way, it only starts a countdown for 150. So it's not like Ali oxen free, you get the victory point, you're won. It does start a timer though. So I couldn't take my units and go hide in the far corners. I've got to stay engaged. And so I was able to hit his archers, but then come through and start chain charging his ones, which is hitting the outside units first, charging them in the back, withdrawing, and doing it again. And you can see I'm restoring some of the special abilities of the general is to restore exhaustion. So you can see these guys were fresh. but I did it to the wrong one. I should have done it in the Oathsworn. The Oathsworn who were exhausted broke en route. So now it's really getting down to the wire. There's but I do have better units on site right now. Let's see, he's got 42, 29, 30. See, there's very few. 76, that's not bad. And the Terraria 67. So he's got more troops, but mine are higher quality. And that's that coin balancing, right? So he brought more troops, mine were of higher quality, and that's choices you can make. Over so down with few forces, and you can see how he's been able to use his forces to wear me down. It's very close. I don't even realize at this point he's still been. Now he's moving his sneaky reserves in. So let's speed this up a little bit more, because I think I'm going to defeat these guys and the game will be over. I have no idea that he's got a fresh, untouched spear unit out here of reserves, and they're marching in. So now you see I'm starting to break. These folks are going to chain break. Happy day. Battle's won. It's all over. I throw up my hands. Game's not over. I look around and realize he's got an entire unit, and I'm like, screw me. I've got 65 of these guys left. They're very tired. My general is very tired. I don't know what I'm going to do. But remember those fireballs that didn't launch earlier? Well, they're still sitting right here. So I'm going to see if I can use those to make the difference. So I'm going to try and recover my forces here. Speed this up a little. He's bringing his troops in, and this is down to the wire. So he's got one untouched, got a pretty badly mauled 65. I decide to move my cavalry out before he can bottle up so I can get those rear attacks. And you can see he's taking damage from the arrows. This is all this is critical, bleeding off those hit points. And then now I go to light the fireballs, and I'm praying for a good roll. These fireballs just go right into his unit, hits everyone, takes out a huge amount. Half his unit gets wiped out by the fireballs, and they are actually breaking. And that's when I just charge in, and that's the end of the battle. So good rolls with the fireballs at the very end helped save it, but it was a very close battle, very well played by John. And I noticed last time I actually cut off the replay before we got to the after battle report. So I'm going to show you what it looks like. This is what the after battle report looks like. So you've got your troops deployed, your losses, not a good thing, and your kills. However, when you're loading troops, you can't load in partial troops. So if we were to use this, you do have this green, red, like there's a little sliver of red, there's a little red there, black, these guys are all dead, yellow. So you almost have this wounding status. You can see here his onagers are green, little red on the general. Black units have been destroyed, wiped out. They're completely gone. So we could use a red, yellow, green status that says this is the status of wounding, and then you can load in whatever the rule is, yellow and green, green only. You can figure out how to load in the troops from the custom battle interface on the next one. So that would be a way of reporting battle losses out that affect the grand campaign and affect the next battle. So even though I won this, if I've only got one green troop left, that has really big implications on the grand campaign, that this army's basically toast. I mean, he did a good job of getting in there. He obviously lost most of his army too, but neither of these armies are in any shape to fight right now. So I'm going to stop the recording